not ready
No?
yet. They're still running the video.
Oh, you're still running the video.
More important role in the next.
Okay, you ready?
Really? Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. You're most welcome to this session. It's NRI Collaborative Session on sustainable models for community-based connectivity. And I am very privileged to be your host today. My name is Peace Oliver Muge, and I work for the Association for Progressive Communications. And we are on Channel 5 for your information. And I will right away go to just give you a brief introduction on the session. We have distinguished panelists that I'll give a moment shortly to introduce themselves. And this session is really talking about local connectivity or community networks. As we all aware that even if we know that access to internet is a fundamental human right, we still know and we've witnessed in different spaces where we work or live that there are still very many people that are not connected to the internet. People in rural communities, periphery urban areas, indigenous communities are still not connected. And so it is very pivotal for us to have this kind of engagement and discuss alternative ways that we can have or close this gap. And so you should look forward to our engagement. We will be looking out for some of the challenges. We will share our experiences in the different communities, different projects or initiatives that we have done towards closing this gap. And we will also talk about some of the existing policy frameworks or challenges that we have witnessed. So without wasting any time, I will already invite you, Shafiq, to start off already this discussion. And my question to you is, how can inclusive policies and strong regulations framework close the digital divide, lower internet costs?
That's okay.
Can you hear me? No?
Yeah, but this is Shafiq here.
This is Shafiq. Sorry. I cannot hear myself at all. It feels like I'm speaking to myself. Yes, thank you. Yes, so Shafiq, I'm coming to you. And before you answer this question, could you just introduce yourself briefly? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shafiq Shaya. I am the Regional Manager for Public Policy and Government Affairs for RIPE NCC. And I am a member at the IGF Lebanon, ex-chair of the IGF MAG in Lebanon. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today, and thanks for the invitation. Just to answer your question, so addressing this question in today's context is not about improving infrastructure or updating regulation. It's about recognizing that accessibility and connectivity to the internet is a right and not a luxury. So when we talk about connectivity, about lowering the cost of the internet, about policy and regulation, we are really talking about the people who are in rural areas, in remote areas, in refugee camps, that they don't have the chance to connect. They cannot get online. So I just have one question here for the audience. How many of you are come from a country where the connectivity in rural or remote areas is still a challenge? Yeah. So yes, and you are not alone. In many parts of my region, the Middle East and beyond, this is a challenge. But this challenge is not about technology. It's not about we don't have the connectivity. And it's about a policy failure. Let's put it in this dimension. So just I want to share with you a very simple but powerful story about this community initiatives and community network and how it works. In one of the small mountain village in Lebanon, we had a young woman. She had skills, and she was selling handicrafts, crochet. That means covers for tables and for chairs. But she hadn't the way to reach customers. So one of our initiative was led by the municipalities, some academics, and civil society, is to have a bus, a mobile bus, where we visit this village twice a week. So we met this young lady, and now this young lady, after she get the online, after she get the digital literacy, now she's a young entrepreneur, and she offers a job to other young ladies, and she's selling her handicrafts and her products online. So the main message here is we do not, or we don't need to wait for government development plans to go to these rural areas. When community work together, we can get the connectivity, and this connectivity can give the opportunity to these people like this young lady. To the second part of your question about the strategic alliances and how we can do this together. First thing that I want to say here, I believe we need to stop talking about that the stakeholders group like civil society, technical community, academics are just supporter partners. No, we need to be active partners. So government cannot solve and cannot bridge everything alone. We need to work with governments. So my message here is for all my colleagues, please, when you talk to government, don't just sit down and talk and listen to them. You need to be a partner. You need to collaborate. Because inclusive policies, based on my experience, I have been working for the last 20 years with governments, it is not written in the ministries or at the regulator authorities. These inclusive policies should be involved with the stakeholders, with communities, and should be based on trust and locally and reality on the ground. So we need to have these policies as needed, not in theoretically just to write it on a piece of paper. So community has an important role to play in connected people in partnership with governments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shafiq, for really pulling out and bringing out some of these things, especially that we should all be active partners, not pointing fingers to the other stakeholders, but we should all be active partners, and also the pivotal role that the community itself plays. And right away, I will come to you, Lillian. Before you speak, just briefly introduce yourself to the audience. Lillian, how should national regulations be adopted to support the legal establishment and operations of community networks? Thank you.
Thank you, Peace, and all of my partners. I'm Lilian Chamorro. I'm part of Colnodo team, that is an NGO based in Colombia that also is part of the IGF from Colombia, and we are also the Secretariat of the Latin American and Caribbean IGF. We in Colnodo have experience accompany communities in the creation and maintenance of community networks. We think that it's necessary to recognize that the diversity of connection possibilities should be recognized. Because the actual connection, the actual enterprises not respond to the needs of the communities, because the communities don't have the enough income, don't have the enough people, then the communities not respond to the needs of the large operators. Therefore, other connectivity models are needed. Diversified models that complements the work of traditional operators, oriented by principle of openness, sharing, and community. These community models cannot have the same requirements as traditional models. They must have reduced or exempted fees, and reporting requirements must be simplified and adapted to the conditions of these networks. On the other hand, these models should have access to the resources of universal access funds In Colombia, we have the FUTIC, that is the Universal Fund, which is intended to bring connectivity to vulnerable communities that are usually in remote areas and do not have the possibility of accessing this type of resources. Although in Colombia, community networks initiatives are financed by universities or by international funds, such ISOC or also the LogNet program from APC, but there are not public resources oriented to the implementation and support of community networks. In addition, it should be allowed to implement models of alternative economies or economías propias, as we said in Spanish, in the operation and maintenance of the networks, different of the commercial models. Finally, access to the resources such as spectrum and backhaul networks should be facilitated, which due to the legislation and high costs do not allow communities to access facilitate the access to backhaul, which means a diminution of the possibility to access to backhaul means a diminution of costs for the network maintenance and more opportunities for the community network sustainability.
Thank you, Lillian, and I do agree with exploring the different models that exist, openness, addressing the needs of the community, and when you bring that with what Shafiq started us on talking about the different stakeholders, I want to bring in Julius now. And Julius, my question to you is that what strategic alliances between government, civil society, academia, and private sector can boost community network development?
Sorry. Thank you very much. So maybe just to briefly introduce, name is Julia Zuba. I represent NRD Companies, which is a private sector representative from Lithuania, which closely cooperates both with the Lithuanian government, sharing our last 30 years of digital transformation experience, including in the field of broadband connectivity, which is one of the key pillars to ensuring digital transformation. So I really appreciate this question because in Lithuania, when we became first independent in the 1990s, we had a unique situation where we had to, as any countries, to breach the rural and urban gap in terms of digital divide. And one thing that was proposed actually for Lithuanian government by the academia was first of all to establish what we called a rural area internet networks, by acronym RAIN, which basically the government provided the middle mile network that was then open to private internet service provider to do the last mile connectivity to sort of make it financially viable for these private companies to then provide that. So from our Lithuanian side, it was particularly important how public investment can stimulate private sector provision in underserved areas. And then one thing, when you refer to collaboration between different stakeholders, the next actually very interesting initiative was called Window to the Future, which started in 2000s and actually was initiated by telecommunication companies and private banks because they noticed, well, there was who started a dedicated NGO, which with the objective to establish centers in rural areas where people can get Wi-Fi access, digital skills, and everything that they need to use the connectivity that they would be provided. The idea was here that telecommunications wanted more people using digital services, or overall, digital connectivity, so that improves their consumer base. The banks wanted more people using digital banking services, so then that simplifies their own processes. They don't need to serve as many people in their offices. And in terms, then the government actually jumped in and said, this is a great idea, let's do that. What came out of it is actually the largest public network of internet points in all of the Europe, which is provided to public libraries. And we believe that this is a great collaboration between a critical service points in any community, which in Lithuanian case is a public library, and funding provided by the private sector and the government sort of providing the mandate that you need to initiate these things. And we believe that this model is really adaptable to other contexts. For example, my company, we recently had a project in Kenya where a similar model was considered, but instead of public libraries, we were working with the Postal Corporation of Kenya and proposing that a model how the already existing infrastructure of the postal networks could be brought to a second life to also provide similar networks. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. And that's a good example of how when all stakeholders come together, it's stronger with this example of the window to the future. So thank you for sharing that. I would like to announce that we have online participants, and Judith is our moderator. So we will ensure that when we open the floor, we give you opportunity to engage. I will come to you, Henry. And please introduce yourself briefly. And then my question to you is, how can rural, indigenous, and Afro-descent communities effectively participate?
Henry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was asked to moderate the session last minute, so I'm not aware. This is my Julia, so excuse me for that. Yeah. So my question to you is that, Henry, how can rural, indigenous, and Afro-descent communities effectively participate in connectivity, policy making, and what strategies are needed to build their capacity to manage and sustain their own network infrastructure and services? Thank you.
Okay, very good questions. Hello, everyone. And my name is Henry Wang. I'm from the Singapore IGF. I'm also the co-founder for the World Web 3 Alliance. So today's topic is a community driving network. And it's very important, and it aligns with IGF. So IGF is bottom-up, and the community network is also bottom-up. But when we talk about a community network, sometimes we don't have enough or enabled tools to build a community network. But now time is shifting, and this empowered blockchain protocol can actually help the community to build their own network based on mesh network, which is a peer-to-peer connections. So with peer-to-peer connections, people can build a village network. But with one of the node, we call it mesh box, you can connect it to the low Earth orbital satellites. Then you can immediately form a space-ground integration network. So this kind of a decentralized infrastructure network, we call it decentralized physical infrastructure network, called DPIN. So this DPIN is going to revolutionize our infrastructure, and within the next 1 decade, 10 years. So within 10 years, I believe the whole humanity can be connected with this space-ground integration network. Because it's bottom-up, so everyone can participate. So there's a protocol to guarantee the contributors and users and validators to organize a fair network for everyone. So we call it People's Network. And I invested into one of the company in Chicago who are building the all-door mesh box with solar panel and also with the battery, so they can even work without power. So in those remote areas, rural areas, like mentioned by several of our panelists, in those areas, and we can immediately build a network for people. So the low Earth orbital satellites is not only starting. There are so many constellations are under construction. So within 3 to 5 years, all of them will put into operation. So space-ground integration network will be the future of our community network. So therefore, we are talking about the policies in every country, especially emerging countries, how to encourage people to build a network together. It's not centralized. It's not be decided by the centralized carriers where to build network, but the community themselves can decide, can work together to organize a community-based network. So it's cost-effective, and also with the broadband and bandwidth, it can help people to actually earn their breakfast, earn their educations. So this is the underground layer of the infrastructure. And upon this layer, we'll have the Web 3.0, which actually decentralizes the data ownership, which means for emerging countries, they don't have to turn over their data. They can preserve their data, their language, and their cultures. So with the community network and the Web 3.0 layer, like Lingo AI is doing for all the diversity of languages and cultures, I believe the emerging countries can gradually become wealthy and gradually own their own data and protect their culture and languages. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Henry, for mentioning, the bottom-up approach, the decentralization of the networks, and the cost effectiveness. And since you brought that up, I will come to you now, Claude, to talk about the funding mechanism and incentives that can support sustainable community networks. Please introduce yourself briefly.
Yes, hello. My name is Claude Dorian. I'm an economist, general manager of MCA Conseil, which is a non-profit consultancy specialized in financial and development strategy for collective projects. Financing connectivity is a complex question, so trying to offer a 4-minute answer is kind of counter-cultural for a guy who's paid by the hour, usually. Connectivity is different things depending on who you are asking. For some people, it's a market. For other people, it's a right. We may argue that in between, it's a essential social service supplied by an economic activity with a technical solution. But this right has to be supplied and financed from private sector, public sector, or civil society. With the limited resources that the public sector has and the important wave of diminishing resources coming from international cooperation, it seems that we are condemned at finding some blended strategy to supply financial solutions to a large scale. I mainly bring the experience of social economy to this debate. Social economy is constituted of collectively owned enterprises who have social mission managed through a collective democratic governance representing the community that they serve. It is a way of undertaking collectively for the common good. Social economy has developed a culture of mixed financing, where grants finance impact, loan finances assets, and specialized financing feed working capital through long-term flexible loans without guarantee or supported by external or public guarantee scheme. We believe that this is a constructive path to use philanthropy as leverage and with the aim of multiplying its impact for community connectivity. And because I'm an economist, I kind of have the tendency to see things as a supply and demand situation. On the supply side, we have to build a network of a few complementary financial actors that will work together with mutually supportive products in the same projects in order to share analysis, share risk, and insight in order to raise the financial supply and lower its cost. On the demand side, I also believe that connectivity initiatives may need management and technical support services in order to identify the best solution and to deliver the kind of business case, because we are, in fact, social businesses, business plans that will be closer in content and in format to what social financial actors may expect or wish for. It is really a dialogue between digital divide and financial divide. And I believe this dialogue can be constructive, leading to a fair financing solution to collective projects, bringing positive social impact and economic impact, as fair trade brought higher selling price for growers. Fair financing could bring lower prices for users of connectivity emerging from community-based projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claude, for those elaborate points. And I think these are really good strategies that we need to take if we want to ensure that the financing mechanism works for our goal to ensure that we close the gap and we have many people connected as we are in this room connected. I will come to Aisha. We're about to come to the floor, so don't feel impatient. And Aisha told me before the session started that she is the last, so we shouldn't rush her. Usually it's the case. Nobody's going to rush you. And you will just introduce yourself before you take this question. And the question to you is, how can policies strengthen digital skills and community-led technology?
Thank you, Peace. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Jaridi. I'm the Vice Chair of the North African IGF. I am here to represent the North African part of the continent. Maybe it is very relevant in this context to say that community network is not only about connectivity and infrastructure. It is also more about empowerment of the less privileged ones, including women, youth, and also people with disabilities. So policies in this context play a vital role in ensuring that these communities are not only, and all the global community, are not only passive users of internet, but also active in connecting the other communities and also in shaping the realities of the disconnected. So talking about the digital skills, there are not only four, but four main areas where policies can support digital skills. The first area, policy can invest in inclusive or more inclusive digital education and training. This is by creating a policy. Government should create policies that ensure that everyone has access to digital literacy, either in schools or in adult literacy. Second, policy should include skills and STEM education in more and more areas, and include rural areas as well as urban areas in digital skills. Third, policy should support training in rural areas. This is in cooperation with civil society. And maybe it's important in this context, related to the digital skills, especially to mention the efforts done by the School of Internet Governance and the regional initiatives of Internet governance, whether it's North, South, West, and their initiative or their schools and the trainings they do on a yearly basis, and the students, women, and people with disabilities. Because last year, for instance, in our School of Internet Governance in North Africa, we have included a great number of people with disability. We've trained them. We've had them participate in our school and certify. So these initiatives can help also enable these people to get the technical skills, and why not build their own local communities. The second area that policies can encourage digital skills is to enable local community to design and manage its own infrastructure. This is also by reducing the dependencies on large corporation, ISP corporation, because we know, for instance, in North Africa, we don't have community-based networks. We don't have it because of the monopoly of the giant ISPs, and we cannot build that. So it's a call for a community, for people who have been trained, for people who are skilled to gather and think about creating community networks in Africa and North Africa especially. So the third area that policies can promote access to affordable internet. So this is by reducing the taxes on digital devices. It's also by supporting more and more use of public internet access, such as in schools and libraries. And we are talking about both rural and more rural areas and also urban areas. Policies can also recognize local communities and recognize the efforts of local communities by offering them small grants, by encouraging them, offering them very, very small grants, or even loans with low interests that can help them create their own community network. And fourth and finally, and it is the most important one because it includes more than one stakeholder, because all stakeholders should participate to create policy. Policy is not the creation of government only, it's a collective effort that, because civil society, for instance, in terms of skills and capacity building, have more experience in that regard. So I invite more participation of civil society initiatives to gather with the government, also the private sector, to foster partnership with these local community networks. Finally, why not create digital inclusion council or digital skill ambassadors who will promote the idea of community-based networks and work with multi-stakeholders to improve connectivity in rural areas. This is all from my side. Thank you for not cutting my word. Yeah.
Thank you. And you know why I didn't cut you? Because you talked about the School of Internet Governance. So I coordinate AfriSIC. So definitely I was agreeing to what you were saying. And so we're going to open up in a bit. I think we will use the mics there. So yes, I think you can take the floor. But before, as you go on the queue, we have Roberto who is online.
Yes.
Is he?
Yes.
Yes.
If you could...
if we can have Roberto
Zambrana questions. Okay, Roberto, I think you can go, and we'll have AV people unlock your mic and video. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Judith. Peace. It's a great honor to be part of this session as well. This time I want to share very quickly how we were working in Bolivia, in our NRI in Bolivia. I will say 5 years ago, and key element is the way that we had the coordination with the government, not only the head of the sector, the telecommunications vice minister, but also the regulator's office. And from last year, and I will say even the last 2 years, we started to work with enabling capacities in communities, because the community network, we understand that is a fantastic solution for bridging the gap we have regarding all the people. I will say more than 30% of our Bolivian population that don't have access to internet. And another important fact that I would like to share, because I'm also working with Internet Society Foundation, is from this organization. We work with capacity building, especially in a course that we have, which is the Community Network Readiness Assessment. And this course enables the communities themselves to work in their connectivity solutions from the beginning. It's very important because usually this kind of projects, this kind of initiatives comes directly bringing the solutions without even in some cases consulting the communities, consulting the beneficiaries. And the correct approach, I will say, it's to build the concept from the beginning, understanding the nature of the needs and working together with them, again, from the beginning to define what kind of solutions will actually fit their particular needs in terms of connectivity. And of course, the solutions that we called community-based are one of the best examples of working together with the communities from the beginning and thinking about the specific solutions that are related with technology, with approaches, with how the leaders of the communities can embrace this kind of solution, and of course, working together with the rest to have not only a successful community network, but especially a community network that is going to be sustainable in the future, because that's the other aspect that we need to think from the beginning and to define the different strategies to work with that goal. So that's what I wanted to very quickly contribute. And once again, thank you for the opportunity to do it. Thank you very much, Judith, and peace.
Thank you very much, Roberto. And we have a hand there. Yeah, you.
We also have a question online.
Okay. So we take. Yes, you can. You can go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Kweku Entry. I'm from the African Community Network Program, and I just like the contributions from. I think it was from the financier as well as. Is it the community? Is it Malaysia? Singapore. Yeah. So all I see is collaboration as a theme going up, and the base of community network is community based. In terms of financing, I think one of the issues that we have is about the buy-in of those we are trying to provide a solution for. What am I talking about? I come from Africa, and in Africa, it's very different. When we're talking about community networks for the people who are in the roots and the grassroots, are we talking about community networks as we going in to implement community networks for them or with them whilst they own this? In our program in the African Community Network, which actually evolved from projects in Costa Rica and in Africa, you see that the community people are involved and they are buying, whether it's the data or they are involved in the ownership. How do we transcend the funding into community ownership where they see that they have the shares in which they are able to invest? Because most of the communities we are talking about most times do not have the funds. And for the last speaker who was online about the sustainability, I think we are at a point here where we need to be able to have some of these funding things. Some of us are doing this and we know the challenges, and I'm just asking so that we can be able to join ourselves and see how we're able to solve these things and move the community networks. Because without community networks, all these gaps we are talking about is never going to be achieved. Connecting everybody is not going to be top-down, it's going to be bottom-up, and it's going to be more meaningful and impactful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Judy, we can take the online question or comment, and then we can go with the hand that we have.
Yes, so we have a question from Zaina from Lebanon, and her question is to all the speakers is, in their opinion, what roles can NRIs play in fostering community networks?
Thank you. Yes, we can go with you. Your mic, is it on?
Bring it closer.
Where?
Okay.
This?
It's on?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, this is Mohammad Abdullah Kono. I'm from Bangladesh Internet Governance Forum. I have some observation. 20 years ago, we are talking about digital divide. After 20 years, we are talking about the digital divide. Problem is the community network. Community network is facilitated only for rural area. Rural area living is the poor people and below income people. But they are not facilitated in the community supported in fund. If we are starting the community project is okay, network is okay. When community project is end, network is end. Because of challenges, the technical person is not living in the community area, rural area, because they thinking about, if I am technical person, I am going to rural urban area because they have a better job. I am not living in the rural area. And another problem is the technical device. Device is very much higher price. If rural area, one technical device is problem, but if you change this device, so expensive. So they are not affordable. So here is a challenge is the affordable, and another challenge is the technical knowledge. This is my observation from Bangladesh concept.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We have, yes, you can take. And do we have someone online?
No, but I don't think the question was answered. She asked a question about how can NRIs
Yes.
play a role in fostering community networks.
Yes.
And so
We've taken the note. Let's have all the questions, and then we can pass around, and the panelists can answer. Thank you. Yes, you can go on.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry
yes.
for my voice. I'm a bit sick. I'm also from Benin, youth IGF Benin, and I'm also newly elected policy chair from NPOC. My observation regarding the explanation that was given by Henry Wang regarding the low satellite connectivity and all this connecting the hand user. My question directly is, have you tried to implement such a solution in a very low income community, and what was the outcome of such making available those devices to them in terms of pricing, like return on investment? We are talking about connecting the non-connected and local communities, but in the end, it's about the company investing. We want to make at least a certain level of money to be sustainable and be able to replicate those solutions made available. So how were you able to manage that? My second question to all the panelists is on the policy front. How do you see, in terms of policy implementation or harmonization, how could you make, what could be the involvement of the NRIs? We are talking about the NRIs here. What could be their involvement in terms of pushing for recommendation or a contribution into policy suggestion to the legislator at the national level, so that adoptions of community networks actually become more of a reality, like we will say the way we are using social network today, for example, so that community network will not be something just of a dream, of giving power to the government actually to make sure they put effort in place to finance those initiatives, and so that the private could come and support when support is needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, the next.
And
yes, you can.
We have one online too.
Okay, so then you can take the floor, and then we can have the online question.
Thank you. I'm Lee McKnight, Syracuse University, working also with Kwaku Antwi and others in the Africa Community Internet Program. I beg to differ with some of our speakers here, assuming that community networks must be complicated, must be too technically complicated for rural community residents to operate themselves. There's one right here in the room that anybody that can operate a smartphone can operate their own community network and create services for themselves and their neighborhoods. So I think we have to think about the current generations of technology that can radically simplify, automate, and enable communities to support themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have the online question.
Sure. So we also have a comment here that I'm going to have it read out so that it can be put on the caption so that other people can see it. So a question from comments from Mark Dadashok. He says, when the digital divide is overcome, then different complaints are generated in a quest for perfection instead of results. He was commenting on that people, when there are many different access points, people are commenting on the quality of the provider or whether they like the provider or not. And I just want to make sure that his comment was represented in the chat. We also have, I think, Tijani Benjamin, who's online, who has a comment, and I think they already gave him authority to open his mic. Tijani, you can put your comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Judith, and thank you everyone. Tijani Benjima from Tunisia. Henry, I heard you, and the solution you are proposing, Web3, is very interesting. And this is a decentralized, distributed solution that really make the end user have the ownership of their data. But my big concern is about the power consumption of this technology because it is based on blockchain technology. And I don't know if this solution can be, how to say, feasible because of this issue of power consumption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 14 minutes, so let's just be pretty fast. I think we have that, and then we can have you, and then we can come back to the speakers so that we can have feedback on your comments and questions. Yes, you can go ahead. Let's just make it very quick so that we can all have a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Pano Sapian, I'm from RIPE NCC, and I have some experience with regional and national internet governance initiatives in Central Asia and Caucasus as well as Eastern Europe. So I guess, and also with the community-based community networks, let's say. So, our experience says that the governments and the territories are quite different from each other. So the legislation, business models, strategies to ensure the national connectivity can be very different. What can be done from the internet governance perspective is that at these platforms of regional and internet governance forums, it can be discussed the national strategy or the regional strategy, if there is any regional strategy, on accessing rural areas, on developing these rural areas and far mountainous areas. So everybody can be in there and they can discuss how to manage this. In some cases, in some countries, they have the state subsidies to reach the forest regions. In some countries, it is state grants. In some countries, it is the donor organizations that are providing this money. So it is really different. But all these initiatives can be discussed at internet governance forums. Another thing that might be done by the participants of the IG is the capacity building. Like different organizations can overtake a part of that capacity building. We have mentioned here that these people from communities, they don't have enough experience, they don't have enough expertise and knowledge. So we as a RIPE NCC can provide them the skills on networking. Others can provide them the skills on management and all this other stuff that is needed to run community-based organizations. So I would call just to diversified approach, but also to universal, to discuss it at the appropriate levels of their internet governance initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we come to you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Carlos Vera from Internet Society Ecuadorian chapter. From June 12, 2 weeks ago, we passed a bill in Ecuador that 1% of the net income of the telecommunication service provider goes to the digital gap bridge. So we hope to work now in how to implement this. So that's one way. We have this kind of law from several years ago, but we don't know where this lot of money goes at the end, because it is more or less $25 million each year, 1% of the net income of the telecommunication provider. So if the government put attention, we can maybe try and have some news for the community in the next IGF or whatever even is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Wisdom, we can have you and then, yeah. We cannot.
The microphone.
All right. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes, my name is Wisdom Donko from Ghana IGF. I'm the coordinator. There is one other a component that I think we are leaving out, and then that got to do with the alignment of the community network to the needs of the rural folks. We need to look at this critically, because when you have a rural farmer who has his produce and then want to look for market for this produce, this farmer needs a network to be able to locate a buyer. So if we want to build this rural network, we need to be able to convince the government, more so for the government to bring in its support and all of that, but then we have to align the need. A rural dweller would like to request for a national passport. I mean, most often in Africa, they have to travel to the city before they can get the passport. So if you attach the needs to it, then we are solving the problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wisdom. And thank you all of you that had comments and questions. We come back to the panelists. You can, if you have any response to whatever comment or question that came, you can just take the floor, and you could use the minute to also just say your final words if you have 9 minutes. So let's summarize our thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Peace. Thank you so much. So I will try to answer some questions. The first question I would like to answer is from Zena about the role of NRIs in network community. No doubt that NRIs play an important role in network community for one simple reason, because NRIs discuss the challenges, opportunities of each country. As my friend Vahan said, each country has its own challenges, its own environment, its own legislative laws. So when we discuss the needs of each country at the NRIs, based on our experience at Lebanon IGF, what we do, we discuss these topics at the NRIs, and then we put our report and raise it to the decision makers. So decision makers can know exactly what are the challenges that the country is facing in infrastructure development and policy. Second thing that NRIs can do is capacity building, awareness. We do this during during Lebanon IGF. What we do capacity building. We organize workshops to end users, to the community, so we can give them the awareness, the technical expertise, and how they should approach these challenges. This is from, I'm talking within my hat as a member at the Lebanon IGF MAG. I will talk now from the other perspective as RIPE NCC, one of the 5 global regional interregistries who allocate the numbers and network network numbers for communities. So from a RIPE NCC perspective, what we do is we support very closely and we engage with the NRIs and with all multi-stakeholder platforms like NOGs, Network Operator Groups. These NOGs or these platforms are technical platforms that can complement the NRI's discussion, which are the policy platforms. So giving the community, giving the end users the expertise needed, giving them the resources, not only the expertise. Sometimes we go there and we fund this engagement on the ground. So doing this, we engage with the end users, with the individuals, with the communities to build their own, community. Because part of our engagement is building communities. So happy, my colleague Bahan is there. I'm here, happy to help you to answer any of your questions, how we can support you in building your own community. Thank you, please.
Thank you, Shafiq, and anybody.
Yes,
Aisha, you want to
thank you, Peace. Just to emphasize and to add to what Mr. Shafiq said, it's just an example from the North African IGF. So, for instance, we represent the North African NRI, and we, during the last year, we have reached out to the Mauritanian Ministry of ICT. We had a meeting with the minister and suggested a couple of regular online and on-site capacity building sessions, especially for women and in rural and in Nouakchott, for instance. So we had the initiative. We took the initiative to go to the Ministry of ICT, and we were welcomed. We were much welcomed. So the lesson here, or the message I want to convey, is that policies are not only for governments, and government may not have all the information or all the capabilities to be everywhere and to respond to all the people's needs. So civil society organizations, NRI more specifically, schools or people who are working in internet governance have also the role, have also the responsibility to reach out to ISPs as well as to governments and participate in shaping policies. Another point I wanted to react to is the comment said by a fellow from Bangladesh who underlined that community network is not only connectivity, and this is how I started my intervention. I said it's about empowerment, and when I speak about empowerment, it means that giving the necessary skills to those people in rural areas or not even in rural areas. I spoke about people with disabilities, which we do not mention much here. So they can be people who living in urban areas, but they do not have the necessary skills to be connected. So here comes the importance of the digital skills. Because to my point of view, community network is a full project that encompasses many steps. First of all, starts with connectivity, and then second of all, with capacity building. Capacity building then includes digital literacy and also digital marketing for women entrepreneurs who are in the rural areas who do not, first of all, know how to use their smartphone or mobile phone. The latest ICT research for Africa research has said that more than, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 40% in the global South Africa do not have smartphones because of the price of the smartphones and because of the connectivity and other issues. So just to cut the story short, digital literacy skills is part and parcel of the community-based networks. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Yes, Lillian, you can go.
Thank you. Well, for finish, I would like to say that it's important to recognize that build and maintain a community network is a process. It is not just a project with a beginning and a finish. It's all a process, and we need public policy aligned with sustainability. That means funds, that means diversity of models, that means training, local governance, accompanying the communities, access to the spectrum, access to the backhaul, and create a strong ecosystem where multiple actors are involved. Then that is the importance also of the role of the NRIs, because we not need only civil society or only governments. We need to discuss and bring different viewpoints about how to strong the community networks ecosystem.
Thank you, Lillian. Claude, do you want to go?
Yes, we just conducted a survey with the Association for Progressive Communication, where we had information from roughly 80 collectivity-centered connectivity initiatives, and the basic conclusion was the really large diversity of those projects. They all share the fact that they emerge from a local initiative where the group of future users get together and build a network connected to another or totally autonomous. And they differ by their revenue scale, their size, the number of users. They may be rural, they may be urban in poorer neighborhoods of large cities. The cases are really multiplous, and what we try to do is to have strategies where we bring external resources at the lowest cost possible in order to help complement the internal resources of those communities and materialize, implement their project. So it's all in total respect of the local initiative, and it's at the service of those communities that a financial ecosystem has to be built and adapted for each different project, because the challenges are different from one project to the other. And I think that when we see the example of Ecuador with its 1% tax, I could say, on the profit of the private sector, or the example that Julius presented about how the private sector is working with the public sector in order to bring some accessibility to communities. There are all examples of mixing a public decision, some private resources with local regulation and local initiative in order to attract what we need as human resources, technical resources, and financial resources in order to increase the number of people having access and lower the price that they have to support in order to pay for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Claude. And the tech already shown the sign. I don't know if we can just, no.
Okay.
It says a big no. Okay, I just want to thank you all for your time, for coming to this session, for your thoughts. And a big thank you to the panelists for sharing the different engagements and the projects, initiatives that you have been doing on this. Thank you.
Thank you.